Hello everybody, it's Donna. Today we're going to be making a shaker card. These are the three samples that I made today. I did them in Purple Posy, which is this one, as well as Daffodil Delight, which is this one here. And the one that we're going to make today is going to be in this one, Rococo Rose, which is one of the new ink colors for in the current catalog. I also put up on the screen a picture of the supplies that you're going to need, as well as this picture will also be put at the end of the video. The stamp set we're using today is the Perennial Birthday. You will also need the Layering Circles dies. To make this card, you will need a half sheet of Rococo Rose cardstock, 2 small pieces of Whisper White, a piece of the ink color DSP in Rococo Rose, as well as a piece of acetate or window sheet. You'll also need 2 small pieces of the scallop lace trim, as well as the iridescent sequin assortment. You will also need all your regular supplies as shown at the beginning of the video. We're going to start with the DSP from the Rococo Rose Designer Series paper and die cut out the 4 circles that we've chosen. I've just taped them together because it makes it easier for me, because I wanted all my cards to be basically in the same placement. After die cutting them, just carefully remove them from the dies from the DSP, just so it doesn't stick to or rip your paper. We're going to use that as a template on one of the Whisper White pieces that we have, and we're just going to circle it with a pencil. This just gives me a placement to put the sentiment in the one circle, and where I'm going to glue a couple of the sequins on. These sequins will just help it from, I don't want all the sequins to be at the bottom of the shaker, so this just kind of helps me, helps some of the sequins stay up and above so that you don't have just all blank space. Now we're going to stamp the sentiment in the bottom circle, as well as we're going to stamp the sentiment that is going to go on the inside. My camera is suffering right now for some reason. It's trying to refocus constantly. I don't know why it's doing it today, but I apologize for that. Hopefully I'll figure out how to stop it from doing that. Okay, so here's the happy birthday in the bottom circle, stamped just with Memento. And then I'm going to take the other stamp for the inside and stamp it right in the center of that card. And that's all the stamping that we have to do for today. Now we're going to place some of the glue dots in the circles. I'm just putting 3 and 2 and 1 in some of them, because just as to help the sequins actually stay floating, so they don't have everything just on the bottom of the shaker part. And then after this, we're just going to take our eraser and erase the circles because we no longer need them. You want to erase it here before you put on the sequins. Okay, now we're going to remove the covers from the glue dots. If I'd used the regular glue dots, I wouldn't have had to do that. And we're going to place the sequins on those glue dots that we have exposed. Okay, now taking the acetate sheet and the first DSP with the circles cut out of it, we're going to apply the acetate sheet to the back of it. I'm just very gently putting the glue on the corners and on the inside. There's very, very little. It looks like I'm doing a lot, but there's very, very little, because I don't want the glue to squish out. The acetate is cut just a smidgen smaller than the sheet, just so I didn't have any problems. I didn't want it to be exposed along the edges. Now I'm just going to place that off to this side and put something heavier like a stamp set or a die set on top of it, just to help it glue down flat. Now we're going to attach the inside of the card with the sentiment that we've stamped out earlier. with some snail adhesive. You can use Tombow, you can use whatever you want for this. This isn't going to get high use, so I'm sure that just snail is fine. Okay, now this is going to be a part that's a little bit tedious. We're going to be taking the piece that we did with the acetate on the back side of it. We're going to put the foam strips around them. I find it easier if I wanted to take the cover off both sides off the foam adhesive, it's easier to go around the circle. But since I'm not doing that, I'm just kind of twisting it a bit or making it curve a little bit before I attempt to put it down onto the circles. This is going to give us little wells for our shaker elements. I'm leaving the plastic on the top because I want to use the embossing buddy to help the sequins not stick to it when they're floating around in there, because the embossing buddy will help remove some of the stickiness from the edges. And I'm going to do that to all 4 circles, as well as I'm going to put any remaining pieces in and around the edges. This is a little tedious, but it actually didn't take that long to do. And it doesn't really matter what it looks like on the back, because nobody's going to see that. And I want to make sure that there's enough in the open spaces so that the card's not squishy in spots. Once that's done, we're going to add the embossing buddy powder to it using the embossing buddy. You can also probably use a brush and cornstarch. You're not removing the paper first because I want the top of the paper to be sticky, not necessarily the sides. Once that's done, we will remove the release paper from the top, and I do that first before I put the sequins in, because as you're doing this, you'll kind of bump the paper and you don't want your sequins going flying. So I'm going to take all these little papers release paper off of all the double-sided adhesive there, and then I will put in the sequins in the 4. Now I'm almost out of the sequins, so I probably would have used a bit more than I did in this video, but I'm almost out of those sequins. In the other cards I did, the Daffodil Delight and the Purple Pose, they did not have a coordinating sequence in my Stampin' Up! Stash, so I had to use some generic ones, but they still turned out lovely. I'm very carefully placing them in there, and then I'm going to take my take your pick tool and make sure that there's none stuck to the sides or stuck to the top. Okay, because the whole thing's sticky now, so I don't want those sitting on top of the paper, or else it won't stick to the cardstock. So you can see I'm just removing them from there, from the edges. You can put other things in here. You could probably put little seed beads. You can put whatever you happen to have in your stash. These iridescent sequins, though, are very pretty. They do sparkle when the light catches them just a certain way. Okay, now I'm going to lay down the backing card for this. I had an escaped one. And this is a little tricky, but you just do the best you can. Just line it up. And then pat it down, and there you go. The foam tape's not as forgiving as glue is, but it still usually looks, if I found that it extended too much, I would just cut off the white with my snips. Okay, now we're going to attach the lace. trim that I have, the scalp lace trim. We're going to put a piece on the front, and then I made a bow with a bow maker that we're going to attach with a couple of glue dots. I just put a little bit of snail in the back, and then I'm going to catch the lace onto it with that. And then we're going to attach the bow with just a couple of little glue dots. You could possibly just use Tombow on there as well. Okay, and there we go. Now we're going to attach that to the front of our card. I am using snail here. I probably would use something a little bit stronger because this is a heavier cardstock like Tombow or something like that, because it is a heavier piece to put on the front of a card. Okay, so that's it for today. There's the Daffodil Delight, the Rococo Rose, the Purple Posy, and another Rococo Rose. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I do hope you give it a try. Again, there's the sheet that we with all the supplies needed, and as well as the dimensions. Thanks everybody, and have a great day.